I'm about to hike 4,300 kilometers on the Pacific Crest Trail in the United States of America. It's one of the most iconic through hikes in the entire world, and it's certainly a long way from home. In 2 short weeks, I'm going to be spending over 3 months hiking the length of the trail, starting at the Mexico-US border in Southern California and finishing in northern Washington on the US-Canada border. It'll no doubt be one of the most challenging adventures of my life, and I'm ridiculously excited to get started. I'm currently out on an overnight training hike on the Bibbulmun track here in beautiful Western Australia. I thought I'd use this opportunity to share a bit about how I've been preparing for such a big undertaking on the Pacific Crest Trail. There's obviously a lot to consider before heading across the world to the other side of the globe and hiking for months alone in the wilderness. So hopefully this video will be useful for those of you who are looking to do the same thing. After hiking in New Zealand last year on Te Aroa, I knew I wanted another similar huge scale adventure for 2024. I've been wanting to do the Pacific Crest Trail for a long time. It's been high up on my bucket list for many years. So I knew even about a year ago that the PCT was my big mission for 2024. So I've pretty much had the full year to research and prepare for the big trek. And there's certainly been some logistical hurdles to overcome to make it possible. The first big one was securing a permit. The PCT is a very popular trek, and to avoid putting too much strain on the trail and its surrounding environments, there is a permit system in place that limits the number of walkers each season. It is notoriously hard to get a permit, especially on more desirable starting dates. Each day during the months of March, April and May, 50 permits are released, and it is first in, best dressed. Your start date does have actually a pretty big impact on how you hike the trail, with seasonal weather windows in places like the High Sierra, the desert and Washington really limiting when you can pass through those areas. For me, a late April to early May start date would be ideal, and I was lucky enough to secure a permit on April 30th. So it's been a couple months now since I secured my place on trail, but there's definitely been some other hurdles since then in getting to the US and also being able to stay in the US legally long enough to actually hike the trail. While flights and accommodation were pretty easy to sort out into San Diego, you only get about 90 days on a typical entry permit on a holiday into the US. And because I'll be hiking for 120 days, that 90-day entry permit would not be adequate. So I had to obtain a B2 tourist visa into the US, which is a bit more of an official and lengthy process. Luckily, there's a US consulate here in Perth. So over the last couple months, I've been back and forth to the consulate, giving documentation, doing interviews, and I've finally been approved for my B2 tourist visa, which means I can enter the US for up to 6 months, which is more than enough time to hike the PCT. So while organising permits and visas and flights and everything else, I've also been training pretty hard. The last 6 months or so, been putting in quite a bit of effort to get the legs and the body ready for the demands of the trail. When I thru hike, I generally really like to push myself. Part of thru hiking and my love for it is, it's an arena where you can really push yourself physically and mentally. I don't like sitting around at camp for half the day. I don't like walking for 5 hours and then stopping for the day. I generally will be walking, pretty much the entire time the sun's up, putting in 10+ hour days and big kilometers. So I'm working hard to get the body ready for that. I'm planning to average about 42 kilometers per day, a marathon a day on the PCT, which is, it's a large number. And I've been fit enough to do that before. Last year hiking in New Zealand, I was putting in those kind of hours each day, and I felt really strong, but spending an extended period of time off the trail, you lose a lot of that fitness. So just been working towards building that back up for the start line, and obviously I'll build up my fitness as I go on the trail as well. As far as what I do for training, I keep it pretty simple overall. Generally aim for a pretty high base level of daily steps. I think so far in 2024, over the last 3 or 4 months, I've averaged 23,000 steps a day. So just keeping those numbers up each and every day, and then just heading out for regular hikes, just like I'm doing now. The odd overnighter here and there. I've done about 2 or 3 5 to 10 day hiking trips in the first part of this year, testing gear, testing the body, and putting some kilometers into the legs. And yeah, feeling really strong as I've been in a while. So looking forward to hitting that start line and seeing where these legs can take me. It is so beautiful at golden hour out here in the bush near Perth. Very special. Almost at camp now. Pretty keen to get the tent set up, get dinner on, settle in for the night. I have made it to camp. This is one of my favorite Biberman track campsites. It's Wiley Camping Hut. The sun is about to set over the horizon, so I've not got much light left. Gonna get the tent set up at one of the camping sites here. Then I'll get some water and get dinner on. Camp set up. It's another thing I've been really trying to dial in the lead up to the Pacific Crest Trail hike is my gear. I've kind of wanted to join the ultralight club for a while now, and so the last few months I've been getting a hold of some new pieces of gear, trying out some stuff for the first time ever, like trekking pole tents. I'm using a quilt over a sleeping bag now for the first time ever as well, and I managed to pretty much half my base weight from my last through hike in New Zealand, which was last year. So pretty stoked with that, and just been in the process of testing all the gear, making sure it works for me, and I'm pretty happy so far. I'm going to do a full gear list, my entire rundown, in another video coming up on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that now. For now, the sun's gone, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat, and then I'll probably head straight to bed. All right, that is me done for the day. I'm going to sleep. I'll see you in the morning. I've just woken up, had a great night's sleep. An absolutely stunning sunrise this morning. I'm gonna get camp packed up and get a move on. Still got about another 4 or 5 hours to hike back to where I started. Let's do it. So what is my plan on the trail itself? Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'd like to walk about a marathon per day on average, meaning some days might be 50 kilometers, some might be 30, but I'd like to hit that sort of mileage on average throughout the hike. And the Pacific Crest Trail is about 4,200, 4,300 kilometers long. So if I did manage to hit a marathon per day, it would be about 100 days to complete the entire route. In reality, it's probably going to be a bit longer than 100 days. I really want to make the most of my time in the US. I don't know if I'll ever be there again. So I'm going to take some side routes, explore some of the national parks and mountains near the trail, which is definitely going to add some time and some total mileage to the journey. I'm also probably going to be taking plenty of 0 days off in towns to recoup, to resupply, to edit some of the content I'll be filming. And so, you know, it's going to probably blow out to 120 plus days. I don't have any time limit and I'm not expecting anything to go to plan, so just going to be along for the ride. Speaking of content, most of you know I am a full-time content creator, so of course I'm going to be sharing the journey on the PCT with you guys online. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that on a lot of my long distance hikes, I post daily vlogs throughout the journey, so you can kind of follow my progress live. And I'll be doing that again this year on the Pacific Crest Trail. Daily reels on Instagram, sharing the highs and lows of life on trail. I'm also planning to post some of those daily vlogs here on YouTube in a landscape longer format, which I haven't done before, and I'm very excited. I'm actually doing a bit of a test vlog, you could say, at the moment, using the gear that I'll be taking with me on the PCT to film this video. And let me know what you think of the quality, the audio, all that kind of stuff, because I'm very excited to share, some of my time on the Pacific Crest Trail in a bit more detail, a bit more length here on YouTube. As always, I'll also be posting a bunch of exclusive content from my Patreon community, including live updates, which won't be available to the general public. Most of the daily vlogs I post will be about a week or so delayed to give me time to edit, but I'll be posting a lot of what I film live for the Patreons, pending reception. I'll also be posting some longer form recaps, doing a bunch of Q&As, so heaps to look forward to for the Patreon community during my PCT adventure. If you haven't joined up yet, please come join the community. I really appreciate all the support of my members on Patreon. It really helps me to do what I do. I massively appreciate you all, and come join us. All right, that is me done for the day. Put the camera away for the last few hours just to try and make it back to the car park before it got too hot. Did about 45 kilometers over this 2-day hike. Incredible time as always. I hope that you guys found this video interesting. If you're looking to do the PCT or any long distance hike in the US, hopefully this provided some sort of value for you, especially if you're coming from Australia or another country. Subscribe if you want to catch all the adventures on the PCT and beyond. Really looking forward to creating and sharing my journey over there. All right, catch you in the next one. Cheers.